Welcome to today's edition of the Rush Limbaugh Show podcast.
Come on, folks, you gotta keep the faith. Stick with me here. Stick with me. Greetings. Great to have you. Great to be with you. Been looking forward to this ever since I went to bed last night at... What time did I go to bed? I guess it's about 11 o'clock when I figured the rig was in. I said, this is not going to change, and it still hasn't changed. Fox News still too early to call a bunch of states that they know Trump has won. But anyway, I really do. I consider it a blessing to have an opportunity to be with you all today. The telephone, and we'll get the phone calls today. The email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. Look, I know that many of you were up all night. Many of you are anxious. Many of you are walking on the ledge. You are frustrated. You are ticked off, and legitimately so. You are angry. Everything. You play by the rules. You do it up and up. You want a legitimate win. You play by the rules, and you get up and you realize every day the other side isn't playing by the rules. One thing that I said yesterday, and I'm going to keep saying it again today, keep the faith, folks. Just keep the faith that the America we know, that the America we love is preserved and will continue to be preserved. The American way of life is going to be preserved. Keep the faith. The best days of our country are still ahead of us. This was a devastating night last night for the Democrats based on their expectations. They once again believed their polling units. It's uncanny. Folks, I can't tell you how down in the dumps, devastated, and blown to smithereens the Democrats really are today. And you can read about it if you know where to go to look. We are going to reelect. We've reelected Trump, a man who loves our country, a man who unabashedly loves our flag, our traditions, our founding. He worked tirelessly to win every single vote, not ballot. This is another thing. Kamala Harris out there saying, we're not going to stop till every ballot's... No, Commie. We're not going to count every ballot. We're going to count every legitimate vote. It's a big difference. And right there is where Commie, which is short for Kamala, that's how she says her name should be pronounced. I think it's rather clever, don't you, to call her Commie for short? She's out there saying, we're going to count every ballot. No, you're not. If we have to go all the way to the Amy Coney Barrett Supreme Court, you are not going to count every ballot. We're going to count every legitimate vote. We're going to play by the rules. We're going to win playing by the rules, despite the fact the other side does not. Folks, there's nobody better fighting for us and our side than the guy who's already in the White House, Donald Trump. Look at how hard he worked to win every single vote, and I still believe strongly he's going to be reelected. He has earned it. His tremendous achievements, the implementation of a great agenda that he promised to implement and did. And folks, again, there was not a gigantic blue wave as the media tried to sell us for months and months. Their polling was as wrong as I told you it was going to be. And I don't mean to sit here and do I told you so, I told you so. It's not about me proving I was right. It's just we know certain things after we've done this long enough and been involved in it long enough. We've seen it operate long enough. We know. We knew there wasn't going to be a blue wave. We knew there wasn't any kind of enthusiasm behind Joe Biden, and there still isn't. There's a generic guy that's getting older looking by the day that has a D next to his name. The polls, as expected, could not have been more wrong. There was a gigantic turnout. The Democrats, I can't tell you how depressed they are today that Trump was not repudiated. I've got the audio sound bites coming up. You will hear from their own oral cavities. That would be mouths for those of you in Rio Linda. how devastated and disappointed they are that the people of this country did not repudiate Donald Trump. That's what they really wanted to happen. You got to remember, they figured that they were going to win in a landslide. They've thought this since election day, inauguration day, 2017. I'm not kidding. They thought 2016 was a fluke. You know, whatever lies they told themselves, and they lied to themselves every day for 4 years, with the lie compounding in intensity to the point that they literally believed the people of this country hated Donald Trump as much as they do. Donald Trump was not repudiated last night. Donald Trump was reelected last night. Time will show us this. You know this. When they stop counting, it means they're looking for Democrat votes. It means they don't have Democrat votes. It means they got to go find them. We are wise to their ways now. The Al Franken technique of finding, why, looky here, what we do in a trunk of a car here at a Joe Biden rally. Why, we got 500 ballots here in the trunk of a car at a Biden rally. Where do we find these? And look at, they're all for Al Franken. Remember how that happened? That's what they're trying to pull off in all of these states. Arizona last night. Can I tell you what that's about? You want to know what Arizona, Fox News calling Arizona, do you want to know, what do you think that was about? I see you guys talking amongst yourselves in there. Are you disagreeing with the points I'm making here today? Is that what you're doing as you talk to yourselves in there? Let me tell you about Arizona. A, Cindy McCain despises Trump, hates Trump. Maybe understandably. Fox News, they've got big problems with Trump. I mean, there's Trump yesterday on Fox and Friends before I appeared, and what's he doing? He's ripping Fox News. He's on Fox News, Fox and Friends, his favorite show, and ripping Fox News at the same time. If I'm one of the Murdochs, I say, he's going to pay for this. If I'm one of the Murdochs, if I'm Rupert or one of his two sons, I think I've even heard friends that the Murdochs have said, you tell Trump if he keeps this up, then we're not going to allow him, we're not going to have him on anymore as a guest. We're not going to put up with this. Okay, so you've got Arizona, I mean, the minute the polls close, they call it for Trump with all of those ballots outstanding. It's personal. It was absolutely personal. But Trump's going to end up winning Arizona. I'll explain this he's going to win Arizona. Trump's going to win Arizona. I think he already has. I mean, this is just a matter of this playing out. There's great lawyers on the case in Arizona. But folks, the bottom line here is I'm not trying to be phony in my optimism here. I'm not trying to be something I'm not genuinely feeling just to make a programming mark today. This did not go the way the Democrats dreamed it would go last. There are two different stories today. One is in the Politico. There's another one somewhere else about how this was a devastating night for the Democrats. Yeah, thehill.com and the Politico. Devastating night because they lost. They didn't lose control of the House, but they lost some powerful freshmen that they thought were locks, like Supreme Court justices or lifetime. They lost the Hispanic vote in Florida. They have lost a racial component they thought they owned forever. And Florida represents a model for what the Republican Party, if they're smart enough to figure it out, how they can make what happened in Florida happen in a bunch of other states going forward. Winning the Hispanic vote in Florida, so huge, Democrats never saw it coming. But I'm telling you, they were hoping. These people are vindictive. They are single-mindedly hateful. Since Inauguration Day 2017, they have been waiting And they have been dreaming. They have been hoping. They have been planning on. They have been counting on you and every other American telling Donald Trump to go to hell yesterday. And that didn't happen. There was massive Republican turnout for Donald Trump. They can't believe it. I've got all of this coming up in audio sound bites. You will hear it, as I say, from the oral cavities of various Democrats in the media. They literally thought Trump was going to be sent packing. They were hoping. But it didn't happen. Trump's troops showed up in a massive number. Landslide type numbers. The media tried to tell us a gigantic blue wave was coming for months and months. The polls, as expected, could not have been more wrong. I mean, strikingly wrong. But that raises another question. What are pollsters? If you think pollsters are people that reflect public opinion, you're wrong. So I could make the case that the pollsters did their jobs. I could make the case that the pollsters don't feel disappointed. They did their jobs. They shape public opinion. They try to suppress Republican turnout. In that sense, they failed miserably. Republican turnout was through the roof, specifically for Donald Trump. Trump is going to win this. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm not livid, and it doesn't mean that I'm not ticked off and mad like all the rest of you are. Because I am. Now, we're going to go through here just some random thoughts combined with bits and pieces of knowledge, in fact, that I have acquired this morning as I've engaged in daily show prep. And I talked to people in the White House who really think they're going to win this. They're trying to win without being seen as overturning any existing votes. They think they have the counts in Arizona and Pennsylvania to do it, and they are leading in Arizona. Here's a story about it. Trump campaign manager on why he's still confident in re-election. His name is Bill Stepien. Confident Trump will be re-elected only happens, he said, on a phone call with reporters today, if there are no shenanigans. Now, Trump has promised to go to Supreme Court, if need be, to stop states from counting suspicious ballots, because the Democrats are pushing to count late ballots. They know that if only legal votes are counted, not ballots, that they win. They are confident in the White House, and they made this known in a phone call to various reporters. What do you mean, why am I okay, let me review for you why I'm confident, just so that I don't want anybody to think that I am striking a pose here, because I'm not doing that. That would be misleading you. Folks, if I literally thought that this was over and that we're going to lose, I'd tell you. I've got no reason ever to mislead you about anything. You being positive versus negative arguably isn't going to change what's going to happen. There's no reason for me to keep you artificially up if it doesn't matter. Your votes are in. You have voted. And by the way, you did it. You did show up, and you voted in overwhelming numbers. But let's take a look. What is the track record for Donald Trump? Remember the coup that they ran that was designed to reverse the election results 2016. That was a 4-year operation, arguably still ongoing. They didn't have a shred of evidence. There should not have even been an investigation. There was never any fact There was never any collusion, meddling, where the Russians did not do anything. There was nothing to investigate. And yet, the Mueller team investigated, and everybody in the drive-by media was part of it, and they ran a coup. They ran a silent coup. Who won? Donald Trump. Then they threw Stormy Daniels. Who won? Donald Trump. How many negative tell-all books have there been out there filled with lying disinformation about Donald Trump? Who won? The books or Donald Trump? Trump says they spied on his campaign. They did, but that's not even half of what happened. They weren't spying on the campaign. They were attempting to implant and embed operatives who would reach out to Russia and make contact so that they could then establish that the Trump campaign was colluding. But the Trump campaign didn't hire any of the people the FBI tried to embed. Who won? They've tried to get Donald Trump thrown out of office and put in jail over his taxes. Who's still in the White House? They impeached Donald Trump on a phone call that now turns out to be the epitome of legitimate. He was asking Ukraine to look into the corrupt arrangement between Joe Biden's son Hunter and Burisma. He was exactly right. Who won? Donald Trump. They didn't convict on impeachment. He's still there. COVID-19. They have done everything. They shut down 7 states that are still shut down. They've destroyed the economies in their own states, in their own cities. Donald Trump. Still in the White House. Attack after attack. He has beat all of this back. There is nobody better prepared to beat them on this than the guy who beats them on everything. Rush Limbaugh in the afternoon in the Eastern Time Zone on the EIB network, 800-282-2882. And we'll be chatting with you as the afternoon unfolds. Here is Bill Stepien, the Trump campaign manager. This is from the conference call he had with reporters not long ago. And here he is. He's talking about the votes yet to be counted in Arizona and Pennsylvania.
Anywhere from 2/3 to 70% of these votes are coming to the president. That math adds up to a margin at day's end of around 30,000 votes in the president's favor. Arizona, with the votes that are still being counted, will come the president's way. The president wins Pennsylvania by 40,000 votes. By 40,000 votes.
So they are expecting the president to win. By the way, the keyboard clacking you heard is one of the journalists on the call. Clacking away, typing what Stepien was saying. So he's pointing out here anywhere from 2/3 to 70% of the votes that are coming to the president are coming to the president. These are the votes yet to be counted in Arizona and Pennsylvania. He said the math adds up to a margin at the end of the day around 30,000 votes in the president's favor. Arizona, with the votes that are still being counted, will come to the president's favor, come his way. And the president expects to win Pennsylvania by 40,000 votes, Arizona by 30. That is their latest tabulation. They say, the minute Fox called Arizona last night, I turned to Kath and said, this is something really, really wrong about this. And we'll explain it even further when we continue after this. And we're back. Okay, folks, now, as I said moments ago, we are going to just be combining a bunch of random thoughts as they occur to me with known facts as they exist, complete with audio sound bites here. And here's a little bit of a compilation of some random thoughts that I know is probably going to describe the vast majority of you to a T. We play by the rules, and this is how we view ourselves. Sometimes we play by the rules to our detriment. But we want to play by the rules because we want every victory, every win to be legitimate. We don't want a phony win. We don't want to have to win the way Democrats do. Stop the count, find votes that we don't have. That's just not who we are, and it's a big deal. It is a major difference between those of us, I could say on the right, but it's not, I don't even think it's a left-right rubric. It's more about character and class. Now, we play by the rules. We want legitimate mandates. We win, we want it legit. We don't want anybody saying that we stole it, that we cheated. I realize some of you think that the circumstances are so dire that we're at a point where no, Rush, no, you're wrong. We must do whatever it takes. That's where I'm confident in Donald Trump. He'll do whatever it takes within the framework of legality. That's how he functions. You know, of all the people in Washington, D.C. that have been investigated, nobody's been more investigated than Donald Trump. They don't have a thing. They don't have a single thing on Donald Trump. Look at all they could put together on Biden if they were serious about it and wanted to, or anybody else in that town. That town is a walking cesspool. It's one of the reasons everybody wants to clean it up and drain it. It's a walking cesspool of people who think they are entitled to behave outside the rules, outside the boundaries of propriety. That's what status means to them. That's what status in the Washington establishment or in the deep state means to them, that they don't have to obey the rules that the rest of us plebes do. And that's one of the many reasons we want to get rid of them. They're poison. They're poison for the American way of life. They are poison for our government. They set up a class system, a multi-tiered system with them in the top tiers. They exempt themselves from all of the punitive, restrictive regulations and laws they pass on all the rest of us. And that's what they consider to be their entitlement. They think that's what achieving and gaining power in the deep state, the Washington establishment, entitles them to. And this is why we want them gone. Because there can't be a legitimate American way of life if the people in charge do not have to obey common sense laws and regulations, if they don't have to obey simple laws of right and wrong and morality. This is why we want them gone. They, on the other hand, look at being able to live and exist and work and play outside the boundaries of normalcy as a perk. But it isn't Donald Trump that lives outside the bounds of normalcy. It's not Donald Trump that's going around committing crimes that can be investigated and found and proven. A lot of other people in Washington, yeah, but not Donald Trump. And not members of his family. They are clean, folks. 4 years of investigating Donald Trump every which way but Sunday, got nothing. We obey the laws. We try not to cheat. In the case, me speaking personally, I try to do all the things that my parents raised me to believe are right and wrong. I've never forgotten them. I am governed by what I think is moral and immoral. And I'm human, and I fail now and then. But we try. We do not structure our lives to say that we are better than other people because we can exempt ourselves from the law or morality or right and wrong, but that's what we're up against. And in the old days, people like us used to prevail on the strength of right and wrong. It seems like lately, people like us are a bunch of chumps, a bunch of fools. We're out there obeying the laws, we're out there doing what we can to live a straight and narrow life. We fall off the ledge now and then, but we try. Yet the people who are flaunting all this and laughing in our faces and telling us we're a bunch of kook nerds seem to be getting away with it all. And now we get to an election where when they're losing, they can just stop the count. They can corrupt the media. They can corrupt TV networks. They can go along and come up with phony polls to try to suppress vote turnout. And it's designed to make you think that the choices you've made in life are the wrong ones. You need to be hip like they are. You need to realize that regulations and laws and right and wrong and morality, why, that's for chumps. That's for the people that you rule. That's for the people that you govern. That's for the people that you tell what they can and can't do. You probably did not go to your neighbor's yard and rip a Biden sign out of the grass, if you could find one. But yours was probably stolen. Your Trump sign probably defaced or stolen. You might have even been personally threatened, but you let the Biden sign alone. You didn't use your absentee ballot to try to get more votes for your candidate. You used the absentee ballot as it was intended. They use early voting and the absentee ballot and mail-in specifically to overcome the disadvantage they know they have, that in a straight-up fair election, fair turnout, they're going to lose in the Electoral College. For years now, we've been blasted with people who cheat, people who defraud, people who steal, they lie, they break laws, ripping down our history, ripping down statues, all of this crazy stuff. We got communist Marxist organizations parading as civil rights organizations like Black Lives Matter and Antifa, doing everything they can to undermine liberty and freedom on a worldwide scale. We're doing everything we can to hold on to liberty and freedom, economic, political, you name it, because it's the future. It's the natural yearning of the human spirit to want to be free, not to want to be controlled, not to want to be lorded over. I mean, look at the horrendous cheating and the spying and the phony investigations and the acts of treason that have gone on in just one event. Trump colluding with Russia. I mean, folks, I still can't impress upon you, even though you've heard me talk about this now for 4 years, there was never anything to it. All they ever had was a Steele dossier, which was made up. Not a single word in that dossier is true. It was written by people paid by Hillary Clinton. Everybody knows this, but the fact they did it. And they tried to pass it off as legit, and it wasn't. And now it's been pushed under some rug somewhere. That's been there, done that. That's old hat. We don't want to be reminded. That didn't amount to anything. The thing is, I'm not alone in describing myself here. You, Trump's base, we're all the same. We try to be good people. We know we're not perfect, and we know by no means are we better than anybody else, but our existence is rooted in a Judeo-Christian ethic that has been present since the founding of the country. It's unique to the United States of America, unique to Western civilization, which itself is under attack and under assault. We're trying to hold on to it. We went into this election. We played by all the rules. Even the stupid. We even put up, I warned everybody, I thought this is a disaster, waiting to have these mail-in ballots. It was an abject disaster. Go back, July 30th, 2020, me, on my own program, audio soundbite number 1 in 3, 2, 1. Mail-in balloting, immediate tabulation, like with absentees, is simply not possible. Democrats are fighting in New York over who won a primary election. In June, we're here at the end of July. We still don't know who won a primary election in June because they used mail-in votes. But for the general election, I think the Democrats want this kind of chaos. I think they would love it if we didn't have a result on election night or even the next day, because they are going to make the case. Obama's already set it up. He fears voter suppression, and he fears Trump questioning the legitimacy of the election. The Democrats want chaos in the general election. They want to manipulate elections until they can control or eliminate them. And I'm serious. Do not doubt me. The Democrats are looking forward to the day where they can eliminate elections. Oh, the elections will happen, but they'll be like elections for Vladimir Putin. We even talked about this with President Trump on the MAGA radio rally, October 9th, 2020. I said, Mr. President, mail-in ballots. Some have been discovered undelivered. Others have been delayed. Voters are confused and frustrated. What can we do about this?
This is going to be the second biggest political scandal in history. The first biggest is the Russian crap that we've been going through for 3.5 years. That's the biggest. Every day I'm seeing accounts of ballots that are thrown away. You saw the military ballots that were thrown away with my name on it the other day. Every day you see scandal about these millions of ballots that's being sent out. It's the single biggest risk in this election.
See, if this kind of stuff were happening to me, if I were a candidate, I'd have my people on this so fast. What are you doing about it?
We have many lawyers, and we've actually been winning many cases. How about where they have the ballots counted, and the ballots have to be in by November 3rd, Election Day, but they don't have to be counted for 2 weeks later? Well, that means you're never going to know who won the election.
Key point right there. The ballots have to be in by November 3rd, but they don't have to be counted for 2 weeks? Got to take a break. We'll come back right after this. Meeting and surpassing all audience expectations, daily basis, Rush Limbaugh. We were winning last night, folks. We were winning big last night. Don't believe anything else. That's why everything's been brought to a screeching halt. We were winning big. That's why they stopped the counting. You ever ask yourself a question? Why is it that every state that is not a swing state run by Democrats can keep their act together on election night? Why is it every state except swing states run by Democrats, every other state can count the ballots, can get them in by the end of the night on election night and tell us who won, except swing states run by Democrats? What does that tell you? It answers itself, does it not? Here is August in White Lake, Michigan, as we get started on the phones. Glad you called, sir. Hello.
Hello, sir. Thank you. Rush, you got me so fired up. If I could do it, I'd come there and give you one of the biggest hugs ever. Trust me. This president is going to win again. He's going to get another 4 years. And we're going to put this country together back on track. The sky's the limit. And God himself will have his hand in this. We are going to be united, and we are going to move forward. We're tired of all the nonsense. We want love and peace in our lives. He's created peace.
See, there you have right there it is. Right there it is. We want love and peace in our lives. We want our lives to be pleasant. We want to at least be content. We know that happiness is an elusive thing. It's an objective. It's in our founding documents. We're, as the normal human existence, endowed by our Creator, it says, certain unalienable rights, meaning they can't be taken away. That's what unalienable means. It means they come from God. It means they're part of your creation, whether you believe in God or not. You're born with inalienable rights as a human being. They can't be taken away. Among them are life, as we discussed yesterday, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Stop and think. The founding fathers, creating the founding documents of our country, decided to identify 3 things that are specifically unique to human beings as a result of their creation. The belief that we are the product of creation. not some inexplicable, gigantic Big Bang. We are children of God. And they decided that they would identify 3 things unique to human beings for the purposes of founding a nation: life, liberty, freedom, and the third one, pursuit of happiness. A lot of people think that happiness, I don't know about you, I've met people who think happiness is almost a sin. It's not something to be enjoyed because life is meant to be suffered. I know people who have been raised this way. If they're not suffering, then their life is too easy. But I don't believe life is meant to be suffered, and I don't believe we were created with the express intention of suffering. It's part of life, and we have to learn how to deal with it, because there is plenty of suffering. But the pursuit of happiness, that's what we all want. We don't get there, but we certainly want to be content. We want our lives to be peaceful, and we want love in our lives. And this stuff that we're faced with every day by political opponents interrupts all of that. We're fed up with it. Anyway, I got to take a break because I'm out of time. Sit tight. There's much more straight ahead. This is why I've been saying, ladies and gentlemen, Democrats, the left, have to be defeated consistently. Every opportunity, they have to be defeated. Anyway, first hour in the can. We have 2 more to go, and we'll get right to them before you know it. And greetings to you once again, ladies and gentlemen, music lovers, thrill seekers, conversationalists all across the fruited plain. It is time for yet another excursion into broadcast excellence, hosted by me, your guiding light, Rush Limbaugh, here at 800-282-2882. The email address you want to be on the program is lrushbaugh at eibnet.us. Now, I haven't been able to confirm this, but I happen to think this is probably true. Wisconsin now has more votes than people who are registered to vote. The total number of registered voters, Wisconsin, 3,129,000 rounded off. The total number of votes cast in Wisconsin is 3,239,920. So 3.1 million registered voters, 3.23 million votes cast. No. How does that happen? I mean, that is direct evidence of voter fraud. Trump people are totally aware of this. They are as up to speed on this as there's nobody better to be running this than the Trump family and the team of people that they have put together. There's nobody better to be running this operation. There's nothing that's going to surprise them. There's nothing that's going to get sneaked past them. There's no trick they haven't seen that they aren't prepared for. This is not the Trump family and the team they have. This is not the old, shall we say, Republican Party of 20 years ago, where we believed the way to behave was to lose with honor and to turn the other cheek, and let's not get political, let's not get dirty, let's not in politics soil the office of the president. No. That's not. We're not dealing with that anymore. We're not dealing with a Republican Party that believes its duty is to lose with honor. We're dealing with a family that only knows one thing: winning. And I'm not trying to be cliched. Molly Hemingway with a tweet. This is repeating the Stepien conference call with the media this morning. Just to remind you again, this is at 10:15 this morning. Bill Stepien says if all legally cast ballots are counted, even by conservative estimates, Trump wins. On the call, Trump team says Trump will win Arizona by 30,000 votes. They're pointing out that their data has been right thus far, including a close race in Wisconsin When the media claimed it was going to be a Biden blowout, the media hasn't been right about any of this stuff. Their polling hasn't been right about any of it. Last night or this morning, 1:22 a.m. Eastern Time, Sean Davis. Since Fox News made its utterly indefensible early call for Biden in Arizona, Trump has cut Biden's lead by nearly a third, and we're still only at 77% reporting. Fox made their call with 73% reporting. Then another 4% of the vote was counted, and Trump had cut Biden's lead by nearly a third. That Arizona call, the investigation of that is I think it's going to reveal some fascinating things that are going on in the bowels of the decision desk at the Fox News Channel. I think you've got, in Arizona, you have the McCain family, which just hates Donald Trump. They despise him. Ever since, if you're the McCain family, the one thing you must do is genuflect toward John McCain. If you don't, why, something wrong with you. And Trump doesn't and hasn't genuflected toward John McCain. He said, I don't have a whole lot of respect for military people to get captured. Well, that's all it took. Since then, there has been abject hatred for Donald Trump within the McCain family. The McCain family runs Arizona. The McCain family is the Republican Party in Arizona. They devoted McCain's funeral to trying to destroy Donald Trump. McCain's funeral in National Cathedral, which Trump allowed them to use. They devoted the eulogies at the McCain funeral to trying to destroy Donald Trump. It was a Never Trumper Express on parade. You think that they're not going to avail themselves of every opportunity they can? Then you've got Fox, which is no doubt mad. They let the president go on the air, and he spends half the time he's on the air ripping Fox while giving him all that time. I'm sure that they're miffed and ticked off about it. You got some never-Trumpers at Fox, too, folks. I mean, I don't want to name any names, but you do. There's a bunch of them in there. And some of them are on the decision desk. You think they're not going to take advantage of an opportunity to harm Donald Trump? Damn straight they will. That's what they think their perk is. I want to go back to the first hour. You and I, we're not part of the establishment in Washington. We're not part of the deep state. The people who are consider it a perk not to have to obey standard norms of behavior or regulations of the law. That's what being a member in good standing of the deep state means. It means that one of your perks is you don't have to obey the regulations that are passed for everybody else. You're exempt. That's a huge perk. And here comes Donald Trump, and he wants to shut that down. He wants to drain the swamp. He wants to eliminate one of the big perks of being in the Washington establishment. In other words, he wants people in government to be held accountable rather than get a pass. Well, being part of the establishment means explicitly not being held accountable. You want me to name names? Take anybody in the Russian coup. Name one of them that's gone to jail. Name one of them who's even been charged. They've all still got their CNN gigs. They broke the law like you can't imagine the law being broken. Everybody knows it. That's the perk. Trump wants them held accountable. You think they're just going to sit idly by? Let Trump do it? No, they're going to do everything they can to ruin him and destroy him and his family. And he knows it. And you know what, folks? It hasn't made him chicken out. It hasn't made Trump back off. Trump hasn't said, you know what, I'm gonna stop draining the swamp. We don't need to do it. He hasn't done that, has he? He keeps talking about draining the swamp. Every shot they take at him is met with a pushback. Still in there fighting for you, folks. And he's doing it now with these election shenanigans. You remember Frank Luntz? Frank Luntz is a famous pollster and focus group researcher, and he's hired by countless numbers of American corporations to do market research. So he's essentially a pollster. And Frank Luntz has been all over television the past few weeks suggesting that if the pollsters get it wrong again, that ought to be the end of the line for them. It ought to be the end of their business. It ought to be the end of their reputation. He was so certain the polls were right. They're not going to get wrong again, he said. The polls are not wrong. Trump is going to lose in a landslide. It's going to be a blue wave, Frank Luntz said. Charlie Cook, ditto. Charlie Cook, the dean, the guru of this stuff inside the Beltway, assuring everybody the polls are dead on. Trump is toast. Trump is history. He's going to be swept out of town in a blue wave. It's Biden plus 8. It's Biden plus 10. Then we have our famous Nate Silver, who's been making excuses ever since last night, actually the day before yesterday. Well, Luntz was wrong. The pollsters were wrong. So, Frank, you need to, I guess you're going to be telling these pollsters to close up shop because they've lost all credibility. Actually, I have thoughts on this as the program unfolds. But that's not what Frank Luntz is going to do. You know how I've reminded you over the course of many, many years, the news business is the one business in America where the customer's always wrong. If you read the New York Times or watch CNN or whatever, CBS, ABC, and you don't like what you see, you're a customer, you're a consumer. I mean, you watch them, you read them, they have advertising. You are a customer when you are patronizing mainstream news. So you call them and say, you guys are so biased, you're so unfair. What do they tell you? You don't know what you're talking about, they say. You're not smart enough to follow what we do. You're nowhere near sophisticated enough to understand our business, so screw you. And they laugh at you, and they make fun of you, and then they deny that they're liberal, and they deny that they're biased. They blame you. So I want you to listen to this. This is Frank Luntz, not long ago, on the Fox News channel. He being interviewed by Bret Baier. Said after the last round in 2016, we heard that there were adjustments being made, that the pollsters had a better sense of the Trump voter, and that the mistakes of 2016 wouldn't be made again, that you guys were going to get it right, and that you had it right, and that Trump was toast. But, Frank, it's actually worse this year than it was in 2016. Pollsters got it wrong worse in 2020 than he did in 2016. How do you explain it?
Because it's impossible to poll them. The fact is, a lot of Trump people want to send a message to Washington, to the swamp. They want to send a message that they're not going to be treated and ignored and forgotten and lied to. And so they simply don't cooperate with pollsters.
So it's your fault. Did you hear that? It's your fault that the professional pollsters can't do their jobs. Mr. Snerdley, did you hear that? It's your fault. You Trump voters specifically. It's your fault. You can't be trusted. You can't be polled. You're smarter than the pollsters, and you lie to them. They can't do their jobs because of you. My goodness, folks. Holy smithereens. Now they're blaming the customer again. They're blaming you because they can't find a way to get you to tell them the truth. And they don't think that there's any responsibility on their part for this current state of affairs. Why, Frank, why are people not honest with pollsters? Could 2016 have anything to do with it? Could the daily drive-by media presentation have anything to do with it? Could the fact that Trump voters think that pollsters and the media are trying to destroy Donald Trump, could it have anything to do with it? We're not doing things. This is not happening in a vacuum. There are reasons people do things. There are reasons people behave as they do. Because it's impossible to poll them. The fact is, a lot of Trump people want to send a message to Washington, to the swamp. They want to send a message they're not going to be treated and ignored and forgotten and lied to, and so they simply don't cooperate with the pollsters. It means they're outsmarting the polls. It means these idiot Trump voters are finding a way to ruin the pollsters' reputations, right, Frank? Man, oh man, I never thought I'd see the day. These Trump voters, they must be pretty crafty. They must be pretty sneaky. They must be pretty sharp if they've found a way to humiliate and embarrass these massively popular, profoundly expertise polling units. These hayseed hicks. These people that live out there in flyover country have found a way to outsmart the smartest of the smart inside the Washington Beltway, the pollsters. I find it fascinating. Anyway, folks, bottom line, your fault. Your fault they're screwing up. Your fault Nate Silver can't get it right. Your fault Charlie Cook, wrong again. Your fault ABC, CBS, NBC, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. Take your pick of all these combo polling units. It's your fault. Because you have found a way to undermine their business. If I were you, I'd be feeling pretty hot about it. I'd be feeling pretty good. Mike, stand by. I may not use number 3. It may not be what I thought it was. What am I looking for here? Stick with me here, folks. I know I've got it here somewhere. Well, let me find it after the break at the bottom of the hour. There is a story at thehill.com today. Frank Luntz, polling profession done after election misses, devastating to my industry. So he's being consistent. He did say weeks ago that if they got it wrong in 2020, that it would be devastating to my industry, quote unquote. Frank Luntz declared the polling profession is done. Story today. After this year's presidential election, in which a number of polls appeared to show a much brighter picture in various states for Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden. They did get it wrong. Let me grab a call. People have been waiting patiently. This is Jody, Naples, Florida. I'm glad to have you with us. How are you doing?
Hey, Rush. I just want to thank God, first of all, for giving you another day, because, boy, do we need to hear your voice today. Hey, I just wanted to say, I think that after yesterday, and no matter who they award the presidency to, it's time for us to take back our freedoms. And, you know, let's get rid of the stupid mask mandates, requiring everybody to wear a mask everywhere. Let's get back to hugging each other and shaking hands. Let's go back to church. Let's not worry about how many of our family members and friends we have over for the holidays. Let's just take our country back.
Well, that's one way of doing it, but there are some of these Democrat governors, and I feel duty bound to warn you. It's a governor of California, even though a court in California has tried to rein him in and shut him down, they are fully prepared to put people in jail if they violate these edicts. In California, you can only have a certain number of people over for Thanksgiving. You got to wear a mask the whole damn time you're inside, except when you're eating, and you got to put them back on as soon as you're finished eating. You can only have certain family members over. It's restrictive as it can be, and it's an attempt to shut down Thanksgiving. Christmas is going to be the same way. So if you're going to advocate, screw that. We're going to go we're going to go to church. We're going to not wear the masks that they mandate. Just be informed, be aware that some of these Democrat governors will have this babe in Michigan, this governor, she'll have no compunction whatsoever about putting people in jail or threatening to. They are feeling the power. I mean, these states, ladies and gentlemen, are a teachable moment. They are a microcosm of who today's Democrat liberals are. Take your pick. Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, Andrew Cuomo in New York, the governor in Michigan, her name escapes me at the moment. What? Still can't hear you. It sounds like you're saying Widsmere. I'm having a mental block on her name. The guy Murphy in New Jersey. They are showing you what life to the whole country will be about if they acquire that kind of power. Their states are still shut down, and they're threatening extended shutdowns, lockdowns, and what have you. They're threatening all of the social restrictions that already exist. They're threatening continuations. There are many, many teachable moments out there. At any rate, let me see if I can find what I thought I had here in the audio sound bites, because it's Democrats are just devastated Trump was not repudiated. Let me be back right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh, executing assigned host duties flawlessly as a household name in all four corners of the world. By the way, the Trump campaign now made it official, demanding a recount in Wisconsin because there are more votes that have been counted than there are registered voters in Wisconsin. Also very odd, Michigan. Michigan found over 100,000 ballots. Yeah, they just came across 100,000 ballots. And you know what? Every single one of them has Joe Biden's name on them. That's right, my friends. Michigan was set to be a state that went to Trump, but miraculously, a bunch of early votes were found, and every one of them was a ballot with Joe Biden's name on it. And when I say every one, I mean every one of them. Every single found ballot had Joe Biden's name. There was not one of these 100,000 ballots with Donald Trump's name on it. I have a different take on the pollsters, but then a lot of people, oh man, they got it wrong again. Look at it. No, they didn't, folks. They did their jobs. The pollsters had a mission, and it was accomplished. Frank Luntz is just running cover for them. Conventional wisdom is the pollsters screwed up. Conventional wisdom is that the pollsters got it wrong again. If the polls were not intentionally wrong, the Democrat National Committee would be screaming their heads off, but they're not. The Democrat National Committee is not mad at these poll results, are they? You haven't heard anybody express anger except maybe Luntz. Because I'm telling you, the polls did exactly what the Democrat National Committee wanted them to do. The polls went out. They don't reflect public opinion. They shape it. And they went out and they tried to suppress the vote. They didn't succeed because the Trump vote was overwhelmingly large, but they still did their jobs. Democrat National Committee not mad at them. New York Times not mad at its polling unit. Wall Street Journal not mad at its. Anyway, folks, there's every reason to secure your home and make your family that much safer. And you can do it now. You can actually have a home security system where it used to not be affordable. This is Simply Safe Home Security. You know, there's always going to be a time when you're extra concerned that your home is properly secured, whether it's when you leave for work in the morning or leave your place vacant for the days that you're away vacationing or what have you. Simply Safe's system gives you that peace of mind. There's an effective deterrent standing in the way of every burglar once you install this system. It's really Cool, because it doesn't use wires. That takes so much complexity out of it, takes a lot of the expense out of it. The system installs quickly, less than an hour. It operates efficiently. Uses Wi-Fi for all of the various sensors to communicate with the base station, not wires. Now you can expand it as you wish. You can add sensors wherever you want without running a single wire. All you have to do is put the sensor where you want it. You go online to simplysafeusa.com. You choose the components that you want. They pre-test and configure them. They send them to you. You put them where you want them in the house. You do it in less than an hour. You are up and running. If you want 24/7 monitoring, meaning there's a break-in, the cops get called, $14.99 a month, not $50, and there's no long-term contract to sign. See it again at simplysafeusa.com. You get a free HD camera with your purchase. It's a big deal. simplysafeusa.com. Okay, audio sound bites. First up, Van Jones. Early this morning on CNN, special coverage 2020 presidential election.
I think a lot of Democrats are hurt tonight. I think there's a lot of hurt out there. There's a moral victory and there's a political victory. They're not the same thing. The political victory still may come. But I think for people who saw babies being snatched away from their mothers at the border, for people who are sending their kids into schools where the N-word is now being used against them, for people who have seen this wave of intolerance, they wanted a moral victory tonight. We wanted to see a repudiation of this direction for the country. And the fact that it's this close, I think, it hurts. It just hurts. There were people who were hoping for a big repudiation, and that has not yet come.
Oh, you see, folks, I told you, they are devastated. This didn't end up at all like they dreamed it would, like they hoped it would, like they thought it was going to. They thought the people of this country were going to repudiate Donald Trump. They're going to send him packing. They thought Trump was going to get such an embarrassingly low percentage of the vote that Trump wouldn't even wait till January to leave. That Trump would just, you know what, I guess they don't want me, I'm leaving. That's what they were hoping for. They really were, something like that. They were hoping to be so bad that Trump would resign. In disgrace. They've been hoping this since Inauguration Day, 2017. Do not doubt me. All the rest of this is just gobbledygook. For people who saw babies being snatched away from their mothers at the border, you got to go back to the Obama administration for that, Mr. Jones. Those cages and those pictures of babies in cages are from 2014. Mr. Jones, they're from the Obama regime. Trump didn't do any of this. Now, I don't know what the hell you are talking about. People send their kids to schools where the N-word is used as a routine matter of course. I've not heard of that. I'm generally pretty well informed. I've not heard of this. Where is this happening? Well, I firmly believe they think it is. They have lied to themselves about so much of who Donald Trump is and what Donald Trump wants to do and what Donald Trump's done. They're so irrational that they are off the charts. They're bordering on clinically insane. They have had 4 years of compressed, seriously compressed hatred coursing through their veins. They were so certain that there was going to be a blue wave last night. Massive, massive landslide for Biden. This comment, by the way, from Van Jones proves that this election ain't even about Joe Biden. This is not about a bunch of people who love Joe Biden. It's not about a bunch of Democrats that love Joe Biden, want Joe Biden in the White House because they love what Joe Biden's going to do. They don't give a rat's pipsqueak about Joe Biden. This was anti-Trump. This was, we hate and despise Trump. That's what this election was, and they didn't get satisfaction. They did not finish the night pleased. In their minds, Biden is going to win, and they're not happy. What have I always told you about these people? They are never happy. You can't make them happy. they're not constitutionally capable of it. Here's Barry Diller. Barry Diller used to run Fox way back in the old movie days. Now he runs something called IAC, Expedia and it's a digital media, the home shopping networks. He was on CNBC today. The co-host, a guy named Andrew Ross Sorkin, said to Barry Diller, look, you woke up this morning and you're thinking what?
I'm humbled by all this. I had hoped for repudiation for all the reasons that are kind of obvious. The only way, for me at least, to think about this is being humble about the fact that this is a divided country in the extreme, that there is no repudiation of someone that I have felt for a very long time is a bad character.
I find this so interesting. I mean, here's Barry Diller, who is a product of Hollywood, running around talking about bad character. And he thinks that bad character is somehow exclusively owned by Donald Trump. They can't find a thing on Trump. And I refuse to believe that Barry Diller was ever offended by the Access Hollywood video. Don't make me don't try to tell me that these Hollywood moguls, with their casting couches and devotion to Harvey Weinstein, would be offended by Trump and Billy Bush talking about women as they get off a bus in the NBC lot in Hollywood. I just don't believe that what Trump said would offend any of these guys. It would make them concerned about the character of the man. These are the people that supported Bill Clinton, for crying out loud. These are the people that wanted to be with Bill Clinton when he was stooping Lewinsky. These are the people that wanted to travel with Clinton when he was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. These are the people that may have been at Epstein's house, expressing concern about the character of Donald Trump. Don't make me laugh. No, I'm not saying Trump's a choir boy, but for crying out loud, ex-Hollywood moguls of the Harvey Weinstein era, and I'm not saying Barry Diller is a Harvey Weinstein, I'm just saying they knew what Weinstein was doing, and nobody did anything to stop him. But all of a sudden, we can't have, Rush, Harvey Weinstein was not in the White House. Yes, he was. He was all over the White House with Bill Clinton. He was one of Bill Clinton's most favorite donors. Weinstein was all over the place. I don't know if he was at Jeffrey Epstein's place, but we know Clinton was. How in the world can you sit there and express all of this shock, disappointment over the character of Donald Trump when the favorite president you've ever had, Bill Clinton, is Bill Clinton? For crying out loud, Monica Lewinsky, Kathleen William, and look at the Juanita Broderick, look at the women's lives who've been destroyed by Bill Clinton. These guys didn't say a word when it was happening. And now they are terribly distressed, terribly overwrought that Donald Trump was not repudiated. Oh, what it means for our divided country. And Barry Diller's the only way for me, at least, to think about this as being humble about the fact that this is a divided country in the extreme, and that there is no repudiation of someone that I have felt for a very long time is a bad character. What about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and all of the tricks they've been playing to enrich themselves? And you don't think that there is anything questionable about that? You're not worried about voting for or supporting that? Mr. Diller, you guys out there, you end up calling us racists. You call us worse names than that. Homophobes, bigots. You expect us to just sit here and go, oh, yeah, I guess that's what they think. But screw it. We're not racist. We're not bigots. We're not sexist. We're not homophobes. We're none of these cliches that you throw at us, that you've been throwing at my whole life. After I met Barry Diller the first time, it was at a dinner party. He won't remember this because he didn't know who I was. I mean, that radio show had started, but he couldn't have cared less. which is no big deal. But afterwards, he said to Roger Ailes, they were friends, he said, I kind of like that guy. He's not a hater, meaning me. And Ailes told me this like I should be proud. Barry Diller says you're not a hater. Why should I be proud of that? That Barry Diller thinks I'm not a hater? What does he think every other conservative is? So I get a badge of honor for not being a hater? It's kind of like when Al Gore, Clinton's vice president, has a debate going with Jack Kemp, who's Bob Dole's vice president. During the debate, Al Gore says, Jack, you're a good guy. You're not a racist like some of these other... Thank you, Al. I appreciate that. Yeah. Limbaugh, he's not a hater. He's a conservative. That's bad enough, but he's not a hater. I don't hate anybody, and I'm not a racist, bigot, sexist, homophobe. None of us are. We sit here 30 years after listening to you, people that think you're a highbrow, holier than thou, better than everybody else, talk the way this, and we're just going to sit here and repudiate the one guy standing up for us. It ain't going to happen. There are some Republicans out there that are really slamming Trump for trying to cast doubt on the quality of the vote count. Adam Kinzinger from Illinois, I think he's from Illinois, who's a member of Congress that hates Trump. They had a falling out. I don't know if he was ever really pro-Trump. I don't remember. But he's out there saying, you can't go out and start trashing the process like this. You got to be patient. Just let them count the votes, and you either win or you lose. Be patient. And Chris Christie's out there on ABC last night, former governor of New Jersey. You can't be trashing a system like this. And all of these people have had a falling out with Trump at some point since 2016. And this is an opportunity for some of them to get payback. By the way, a heads up, folks, the Biden campaign, from what I'm hearing, is aiming to declare victory by 4 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern Time. I don't know what that means in the whole legal process, but I know that he was advised to do that by a bunch of people last night. So that's what they're apparently aiming for. Little random bits of information here. Twitter has now censored 4 out of the past 7 Donald Trump tweets. 4 of the last 7 Trump tweets have been censored. I mean, you could say Twitter, the new gulag. And one other thing, is anybody else interested? Anybody else aware? Anybody else cognizant of the fact that so far there doesn't appear to be any Russian interference in any of this, despite Adam Schiff and the entire Democrat Party and the American media telling us that the Russians were all ready. I mean, weeks ago they were telling us the Russians are already meddling in the election. We've even had members of the Trump administration intelligence community telling us the Russians were meddling, and the South Korea, the North Koreans, and the Chi-Coms, all were tampering in the election. Isn't it amazing that there isn't any reference to that last night or through today? Apparently the Russians didn't interfere. So a lot of people think that Biden is going to win. The Russians didn't interfere. Isn't that fascinating? Here is a tweet from President Trump that has not been censored. 10 minutes ago, wow, it looks like Michigan's now found the ballots necessary to keep a wonderful young man, John James, out of the U.S. Senate. What a terrible, terrible thing is happening in Michigan. Yeah, somehow they found the ballots necessary to keep John James out of Senate, and a bunch of Republicans are running around telling Trump, yeah, well, you just got to accept it, man. Let it go. Screw it. Do not disagree with the process, Mr. President. It's beneath you, all that rot gun. Hi, how are you? No, I'm running it down. I need more than one source on this. I've just... Wait a minute here. Yeah. No, I've just heard that ABC ABC News has taken Arizona down for Biden. So I just found this. I don't have enough time to research it myself, so I have assigned somebody to try to. Okay, so they have taken it away. ABC has taken it away from Biden. It's not that they've given it to Trump. It's just it's still great, undecided. Well, at least they took it away. Now, CNN is projecting Biden wins Wisconsin. Fox isn't. Fox says too early to call Pennsylvania, Michigan. Trump won Pennsylvania. This is what ticks me. He won Pennsylvania. These things were won last night. He won Pennsylvania, Michigan. This Wisconsin business, he's demanded a recount because there are more votes that have been counted than there are registered voters in Wisconsin. North Carolina. Call North Carolina last night. Call Georgia last night. The Fox decision desk can't bring themselves to do it. Now, also, one other. Oh, it was just right here, the forefront of the cranial cell department. It slipped my mind. But it will come back to me. Things always do. But Arizona being pulled down for Biden in Arizona, that's by ABC is big. That means others will probably follow. CNN projecting Biden wins Wisconsin, but that's in dispute. Oh, I know what it was. These folks, here's what's happening with these Republicans that are seemingly trying to sabotage Trump. I mean, Trump is fighting for the same people he has always been fighting for, you and me. He's fighting for this country, not fighting for himself. I mean, yeah, he is, but he's fighting for us. So you've got these Republicans. I just shared with you this Adam Kitzinger, member of Congress, I think from Illinois, is basically telling Trump to shut up and stop complaining and be patient and let the votes get counted and then deal with it if you lose. And then Chris Christie was on ABC News. I think it's I'm paraphrasing because I think it's very, very unfortunate what the president's doing. I think the president should trust the process. But you realize, folks, that there are a lot of rhinos, Republicans in name only, a lot of never-Trumper Republicans who are trying to position themselves for 2024. And that's going to take precedence over trying to help Trump win this election. A lot of people in politics are out for themselves. It's just the way it is. It is what it is. And while this is what I meant earlier by when I was describing us, you and me, we play by the rules. We have a moral code that has been instilled in us that we try to follow. We do our best to uphold. And we've got a guy working his tail off for us, and we don't understand his own party undermining him. Yet we do. I mean, intellectually we do. Emotionally we don't. I don't understand why every Republican isn't all in on beating the Democrats. That's what baffles me. Okay, if you cannot support Donald Trump winning, why the hell can't you support the Democrats losing? Especially given who they are and what they intend. We have these 7 blue states that are shut down, locked down. They're being destroyed economically. Why in the world are there not Republicans that want those kinds of Democrats defeated? I understand they don't like Trump. Not everybody is universally liked and likable. I understand human nature. What I've never understood is a bunch of Republicans, particularly in this day and age, who don't see any urgency in defeating what has become the new radical left. That's today's Democrat Party. This bunch of people that has never thought there's a crisis out there. The country's not really in danger. There's nothing unique here, Rush. You're just paranoid. You're just overwrought, but it's just the Democrats and Republicans like it always is. The ship of state will always sail on, they say. It doesn't really matter who wins. They'll win their share. We'll win our share. And you got to learn to take it, Rush. So if Trump's going to lose, you got to learn to accept it. No, that's not I'm not going to accept the Democrats winning. But beyond that, I don't. See, I say I don't understand, but I do. That's what galls me. I don't. I wish. I'm trying to find a way to express this that people aren't going to laugh at me being naive. I really wish that the Republicans could at least understand that the Democrats have to be defeated. But I guess if you're an inside the Beltway Republican, and if you're a traditional Republican, and you're not part of the new Trump coalition that is the Republican Party, if you are, from the Bob Dole, George Bush wing of the Republican Party, the Bob Michael wing, where you lose with honor, and that defines your character. And then you win sometimes, but you lose with honor. You certainly, if your fate is losing an election and you accept it, that's what I don't understand. But that's who modern day rhino Republicans are. And there's a bunch of them out there, and there's a bunch of them that want to run for president in 2024. And like McCain, McCain wanted to run for president. I don't know that he ever seriously thought he was going to win. I don't think McCain thought he was ever going to beat the first African American running for president. And I don't think he wanted to. I don't think McCain wanted his name in the history books as the guy who defeated the first legitimate African American candidate for president. And by the way, who was it that proclaimed Obama legitimate? It was none other than Joe Biden. What did he say about him? Joe Biden said it was good. Finally, we had a clean and articulate black guy, Democrat, running for the president. That's what he said about Obama. There was barely any criticism of it. Hardly any at all. Yeah, Al Sharpton was offended, but who cared? Al Sharpton takes a shower every day, so what do you mean? I'm clean? I'm articulate? Yeah, but you're not articulate like Obama was, and he's got a much better crease in his slacks than you'll ever have, Reverend Al. Just ask David Brooks. So, there's so much arrayed against Donald Trump because he is the outsider. And what's happening to Trump is what pushback by the Washington establishment, the administrative state, it's what it looks like. I mean, they were never going to just sit idly by and let it happen. And if they have to jury rig elections, well, then that's what they'll do. Let's see. Race is not yet projected. This ABC. Yeah, they've taken, Arizona has indeed been taken down from Biden by ABC. Yep. By the way, what happened to counting every vote? We're not doing that now. We're letting news networks project winners. We're having newsrooms call winners. The Fox Decision Desk, the CNN Decision Desk, or whatever it is. When did this happen? I mean, when did... They don't make it official. A network projection does not determine who wins elections. The tally of legal votes is how you determine who wins elections. Let's see, what else? Let me grab audios number 6 and 7. Larry Kudlow, he was on CNBC this morning, talking on the program Squawk on the Street. First question, Chris Christie overnight said the president's decision to make comments casting doubt on the electoral process is a bad strategic decision. By the way, why is that? If you think votes are being taken from you, if you think an election's being stolen from you, because they spent 4 years trying to steal an election from him, what does Chris Christie not see here? By the way, pardon my agitated state here, but all of this seems so patently obvious to me. I don't understand why Chris Christie doesn't see what's going on. They spent 4 years trying to steal the 2016 election from Donald Trump. They're trying to steal another one. And Christie's out there saying he's casting doubts on the process. Trump's not casting doubt on the process. The people running the vote tallying in these states is where doubt is being cast on the process. Anyway, here's Kudlow's answer to the question, do you think it's a bad decision for Trump to be doing what he's doing?
No, I don't agree. The president was annoyed last night. He's very angry because it just seemed like time stopped and counting stopped, and he had leads in crucial states, and none of the networks were giving it to him. There is a suspicion here of fraud. I'm not going to declare it. I'm just going to say we are taking the proper precautions. The president is in very good shape in our judgment. We are confident he needs to pick up one or two of some key states. Not all the mailed-in ballots are going to go to Mr. Biden.
They have so far.
In very good shape on the remaining swing states.
He's right about something. I remember last night was filled with ebb and flows, and there were a couple of periods last night where I was not looking good. And then it turned. And everybody on Fox, for example, started singing from the same hymnal. You know, it looks like Trump's going to win again. Looks like things are lining up. You go to other networks, same thing. And that was about the time I decided to cash it in. And that's when they stopped counting. When it looked like the momentum in these ebbs and flows had turned back to Trump based on the vote count in these swing states, that's when the counting stopped. As Kudlow says, the president was very angry. Seems like time stopped, the counting stopped, just like in 2016 for Pennsylvania. Counting stopped for an hour and a half. And everybody knew what was going on. They were looking for votes for Hillary. And they ended up being unable to find them. Kudlow was not finished. He had one more thing he wanted to say.
I want to make another point. There was no blue wave yesterday. Okay? The Republicans did very well in the Senate. They may lose one seat, maybe not. But they are going to maintain the majority in the Senate. So that right away says, guess what? No socialism. No major tax hikes to destroy the economy and the stock market. Also, there was no blue wave in the House. So far as I see it, the GOP has picked up at least 4 seats in the House. This was a very strong day for the Republican Party and its principles of free enterprise, low taxes and regulations, maintain energy independence, and tough fair trade deals. President Trump's agenda did very well yesterday.
Exactly right. He was not repudiated. Trump personally was not repudiated, much to the real annoyance and depressing of the Democrats, and his agenda wasn't either. And folks, I can't emphasize enough, they really were. The Democrats, media, they were so hoping that there would be a blue wave landslide, and they know that it wasn't going to be a landslide for Biden. They know that there is no connection to Biden. They wanted this to be pure anti-Trump. They wanted this election yesterday to be able to be interpreted as 1,000% anti-Trump. They didn't care whether it was pro-Biden or not. They wanted to be able to say last night and today that the nation has repudiated and rejected Donald Trump. That's what they were hoping and praying for. They didn't get it. There's something else. One more thing before we go to the break. And I kept waiting for somebody to realize this last night. Finally, Brett Baier did on the Fox News channel. Everybody seemed to forget. They're sitting down talking about the obstacles that Trump faces and various things he's got to overcome to win the election. And it was as though nobody remembered that Donald Trump had to endure 4 years of character assassination by the American mainstream media. In other words, whatever percentage of people in this country only are informed from mainstream media, you can't blame those people for thinking Trump is the biggest scumbag ever to walk the earth, because for 4 years, that's how he has been portrayed. He has been portrayed as an incompetent boob, a criminal, a Russian agent, a traitor. There isn't an American politician, president, you name it, who has had to endure 4 years of outright character assassination like Donald Trump had to put up with, and is still getting. It hasn't stopped. And so when you want to talk about Trump being repudiated, when you want to talk about Trump being refuted and the American people rising up and saying, the fact that they didn't after 4 years of character assassination of the guy is amazing to me, that he's even still standing. I gotta go. We'll be right back after this and return. Sit with us. Back to the phones. Here is Chad in Lake Ariel, Pennsylvania. I'm glad you called, Chad. Great to have you on the program. Hi.
Mega dinners and well-wishing and prayers to you, Rush.
Thank you.
Reason why I called is, briefly, I told your screener that my wife, we're here in Pennsylvania, and received 2 mail-in ballots under 2 different names. Now, we didn't know that we even received these until we got a phone call from an election official asking if her ballot had been sent yet, and she said, I didn't think I received one. She then proceeded to go through her stack of stuff and found 2 ballots, one under her current married name and one under her name previous to us being married. And, certainly calls into question, I think, some of the validity of this mail-in balloting. I mean, there was nothing really to stop us from sending in both ballots, and as they were under 2 different names, who knows if we would have ever been caught.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that this kind of thing is going on. We have evidence it's been going on. I think this is why Trump is justified in questioning the process. There have been so many electoral changes in the last few months, going back to the summertime, that were obviously designed to help Biden, or whoever the Democrat nominee ended up being. All this mail-in stuff and the expanded early vote. And I mean, if Trump was right to question this stuff when it happened, he's right to question it now. You got all these rhinos out there. It's really beneath Trump, and it's beneath our party to start questioning the process and so forth. No, it's not. Not when this process has obviously been changed, altered, whatever, in ways that are designed to assist and help somebody who would otherwise lose. And in that instance, we're talking about Biden. You know, the power of incumbency is incredible. Incumbent presidents rarely lose. I mean, it is so rare. And the Democrats know that. So they've come up with ways to alter the system, mail-in ballots, early ballot voting, abstinent, all of this stuff. I mean, every one of those techniques is designed to be able to be abused, if you will. Rush, what do you mean by all these things that changed over the summer to help the Democrats? Well, Joe Biden has benefited from a wholly unvetted mail-in ballot scheme. Folks, a simple question, real simple question. What do you think the Democrats would be doing? How do you think the Democrats would respond if states began to change voting procedures to help Republicans? If state courts began to change voting procedures to help Democrats. That's what's been happening out there. Major Republican areas all of a sudden, came up with hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots the next day. How do you think the Democrats will be reacting? Just reverse all of this, and these questions answer themselves. But isn't it interesting? That's never what happens. There are never trunk loads of ballots found with Republican names on them. There are never a lot of mail-in ballots that somehow never got mailed that have the Republican candidate's name on them. Every one of these mail-in ballots or early ballots or they all end up in big numbers having Joe Biden's name on them. Now just reverse that. What would the Democrats be doing if there's a bunch of recently discovered, out of the blue, hey, look at this, Mabel. Why, we just found 100,000 ballots out there with Donald Trump's name. You think the Democrats would be talking about respecting the process and not questioning what's going on? So Joe Biden has benefited from a totally unvetted mail-in ballot scheme. There's no tested system to minimize mistakes or fraud. And at the same time, there is nothing to give voters any confidence at all that these ballots, i.e. elections, are trustworthy. For crying out loud now, we've got states with voting loopholes big enough to fly a fleet of jets through. Key states don't have systems to facilitate corrections. They've got systems that facilitate cheating. And it's all being done on purpose. And it's not like we didn't know this would happen. We knew it was going to happen. Trump knew it was going to happen. Trump predicted it happening when he was on this program at the greatest mega radio rally ever a few weeks ago. Now, here's a few things that have happened, just some things that we've picked up on in the afternoon here as the program has been ongoing. I've referenced many times today about the huge Hispanic bloc in South Florida that flipped for Trump. That has totally shaken the Democrats. Destroyed. It has really upset their whole notion of identity politics. The fact that Trump turned a bunch of Hispanic voters Republican in South Florida, in Miami-Dade, has shaken them like you can't believe. And if the Republicans are smart, they're going to take what the Trump campaign did in South Florida and use it all across the country. They could remake the GOP if they could wake up and find a way to get the Hispanic vote in a whole, particularly if they could, they've got to get it in Texas. Do you know how close Texas used to be Republican landslide? There was never, ever any question Texas was going to go Republican. Now we're celebrating because we won by 4 points. The governor, Greg Abbott, God bless him, celebrating last night, 4-point win in Texas. Texas stayed red. Not for long. I've been pointing this out for a long time. You take a look at the county by county map in Texas, and you look at the counties on the border of Texas with Mexico, and they are purple. That is immigration, illegal immigration. If the trend continues, it isn't going to be long. We lose Texas. And if we lose Texas, we never win the presidency because we never win the Electoral College. Republicans cannot win the White House without Texas. And they are very close. So what happened in South Florida yesterday and in the weeks preceding, what Trump did, the Trump campaign did in flipping the Hispanic vote in South Florida, they've got to find a way to implement that nationwide, wherever there are concentrated Hispanic populations. I think it did happen in parts of Texas, not just South Florida. I think Trump turned several dominant Hispanic counties in Texas red, certainly in Florida. The Hispanic vote in Miami flipped 2 seats Republican, including getting rid of Donna Shalala, who was in a Clinton administration. 11 new Republican women will take seats in the House in January. Of course, the Republicans are a party of hate women, right? Republicans hate women. Women hate Republicans. And yet, 11 new Republican women taking seats in January. Not a single Republican yet has lost a House seat. Trump has changed the Republican Party, win or lose, for the good, into a middle-class, working-class party with increasing Hispanic and black support. He has turned the Republican Party into a blue-collar party. He's taken that away from the Democrats. They have become a white-collar, elitist, academic party. Let me get back to the phones. Misty in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm glad you waited. Hi.
Hey, Rush. God bless you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to note Fox's early Arizona flip was telling to me. Right before it flipped, Brit Hume was reporting the bet markets had Trump overwhelmingly winning.
Yep.
And concurrently, China's currency went down, our markets went up, and that moment in time told me all I needed to know about who is best for this country.
And it was exactly, I remembered, I'm glad you called because I had forgotten. Brit Hume on Fox was paying attention to the betting markets. He was mesmerized. He was fascinated by the betting markets, and he kept chronicling how they were changing. They were slowly moving away from Biden. And at one point, he reported the betting markets are now majority Trump, and that's when all the excrement began to hit the fan, Misty. When the betting markets turned, and it was noted that's when the vote counting stopped, or very near it.
Yep.
When the betting markets and when the Chinese currency started plummeting, that coincided with the momentum shifting to Trump, and that's when everybody stopped projecting winners on the networks, and that's when they stopped counting votes, and that's when the Democrats realized they were in trouble. Now it's out there that the betting markets have gone all in for Biden now, which I don't know if it's true. I didn't click the link. I'm clicking on fewer and fewer links. I don't know about you, but I see a bunch of, if I see something that I don't want to see, that I don't want to believe, that I just don't click on it. Because I don't think it's real. I think there is so little in news today that is legitimate that I don't even waste time on the stuff I think is fake. And more and more and more of it is fake. Anyway, brief break time. Gotta take it. We'll come back and continue right after this. Fox News has now followed in the footsteps of CNN and is projecting Biden to win Wisconsin. Now, the Trump campaign has already said they're going to demand a recount in Wisconsin because there have been more votes cast in Wisconsin and counted than there are registered voters in Wisconsin. So they're going to demand a recount there. And I'm just, I've heard that Biden's going to, at 4 o'clock today, go out there and declare victory, even though he hasn't been counted anywhere with 270 electoral votes. Now, I can't say that that's going to happen for certain. It's just one of these things, scuttlebutt, that you hear out there as a powerful, influential member of the media like me. My friends, Boll & Branch products. Boll & Branch product, bedding, sheets, towels, you name it. They fall into a category of you got to experience this. Luxury sheets and bedding. They arrive soft, and this stuff only gets softer over time. Boll & Branch uses a pure organic cotton exclusive to them. And it does. It gives you a sense of luxury and comfort every time you use the stuff. And it's amazing. You got to be conscious of it when you're doing it. It'll register with you. You might find products like this in a 5-star hotel or a very high-end retail store, but you'll pay close to $1,000 for it. Boll & Branch, however, can offer this level of luxury for just a couple $100 after a promo code discount. Boll & Branch sheets are online, bollandbranch.com. Larger than ever selection awaits you. And when you make your selection, comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. I mean, you got 30 days to try them, and if they don't meet your expectations that I have created, and send them back, and you'll get a free refund, a full refund. Experience these products as you fall asleep for the next month. Make sure that you're completely satisfied. It's bollandbranch.com, B-O-L-L, and branch.com. Use my name. You'll save $50 off your first set of sheets. Scott Walker, the former governor of Wisconsin, has weighed in on the recount procedures, and let me give you just some of the highlights. Scott Walker says in Wisconsin, a candidate can request a recount if the difference in votes between the candidate and the leading candidate is not more than 1% of the total votes cast for the office where more than 4,000 votes are cast, which, of course, has happened here. The petition has to be filed no later than the third business day, or in an election for president, no later than the first business day after the State Election Commission receives the last statement from a county board of canvassers. So the margin between Donald Trump and Joe Biden is less than 1%, so it qualifies. Requesting a recount is a legitimate legal option for the Trump campaign when you consider that the margin of about 21,000 votes out of the millions cast in Wisconsin. 4 years ago, the presidential election results in Wisconsin went through a recount, with Trump picking up 131 votes. In 2011, there was a swing of 300 votes in a Wisconsin Supreme Court race. So, Scott Walker says that the canvass could lead to a tighter election result in Wisconsin, would make the prospect of the outcome changing much more likely. Bottom line is, nobody should be declaring victory in Wisconsin until the canvass is certified by the state, the recount. Here is Jeff in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Great to have you with us, sir. Hello.
My wife and I are praying for you, Rush.
Thank you.
New mantra for the Republicans: demand recounts. Hey, some quick comments on what we have to do to kill voter fraud. There's two things that we have to demand and move forward with. People need to vote in person, and people need to prove who they are. So I heard you being concerned about this early voting. I think early voting is the killer for the mail-in voting. We have to get rid of mail-in and absentee voting. We have to pick the lesser of the two evils. Early voting needs to kill this fact. Folks, man, if you're conservatives, we have to give up this laziness of absentee voting. You have to be in person and prove who you are. And the second thing, hey, a few months ago, you asked about some policies that Trump might have for going forward in the second term. A few months ago, I almost got in through your screener. And the second thing is people need to prove who they are. Okay, so that goes towards voter ID. But the way Trump can do that is through national ID card. This is not a new idea, but the way Trump can put it through is Trump is a fixer. He fixes problems. And so what he does is he comes out and he says, we got to solve this problem of identity theft. These stupid little Social Security cards that we have, let's get a national ID card to say, hey, you're a citizen. People who are legal residents, they can finally actually have a green card. Citizens can have a red and white striped card. And they can go, what that allows is he can do that from a national level as president. Is the Social Security Administration under the Department of the Treasury?
Let me step in here because I've got less than a minute and I want to comment on this. In the first place, you're never going to get rid of absentee voting. It's too legitimate. And an absentee ballot, you do have to show an ID. You have to prove who you are to get an absentee ballot. Now, there may be places where you can skirt that rule, but I mean, it's the law. Mail-in ballot requires nothing. You don't need to show anybody a valid ID or anything. Get a mail-in. Mail-in needs to end yesterday. Early voting, I agree with it, needs to end yesterday. Absentee voting, you're never going to get rid of it. It's legitimate. It exists for a long time for a reason. National ID. I couldn't agree more that you ought to be required to prove who you are before you vote. The Democrat Party has turned that into an issue of racism. The Democrat Party's got African Americans believing that is a trick to identify African Americans to send them out of the country. That's what they have told African Americans the reason for voter ID is. I gotta go. I wish I had more time, but I gotta take a break. All right, folks, that is it. We are out of time for today's busy broadcast, but we'll be back here tomorrow, revved and ready to kick off yet another day. Have a great afternoon, the rest of the day, and see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being with us.